Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eden, Aaron, Kimberly, Patricia, Magda, Wendy, Bill Miller. The room is filling up. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bob Stewart. Super excited to have you guys here today. We're going to talk about 5 ways your database can make you more money. I just want to take the temperature in here really quick. James Ong, my friend James, is here. He'll be answering your guys' questions kind of behind the scenes as we go through here today. If you have any, we can definitely answer some questions at the end. So here's what I'm curious about. When we do these webinars, sometimes we get people in the audience that are currently Brivity clients. Sometimes we get people in the audience that aren't. They're just here to learn, or maybe they're here to check out what Brivity has to offer. Do me a favor, Terry, Charles, Connor, you guys check in for me really quick and just let me know, are you currently a Brivity client? Are you just here looking for some ideas of how you might be able to dig into your own database? Are you curious about Brivity? Kind of, Connery, awesome. Current client looking for ideas. Sean, fantastic. All right, currently a Brivity client. Yes, currently with Brivity, just learning about it. Just switched over. So we've got some new Brivity clients. We've got some people that have been here for a little bit. We've got some people that aren't currently clients and they're curious about. Aaron's here just learning. Fantastic, Aaron. Awesome. That's only okay though, Aaron, if you take something we learned today and you go out and you actually do it. Same for you, Mark Gant. I know you're a Brivity user, sir. So that's the agenda today. We're going to go and we're going to learn about some of the tools Brivity has and some of the ways you guys can use them to go out and start really putting pressure on your database. And I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Let's get this pulled up. And we'll go full screen for you guys here. So Linda, do me a favor, just check in. Awesome, Linda, recently purchased Brivity. Just tell me, can you see it? James says, yep, looks good. All right, so again, my name is Bob Stewart. This is my 20th year in the real estate industry, and I've worked from end to end. I've sat where you guys sat and called leads and grinded away as an agent. I owned a brokerage at one point. I've worked inside of Zillow and Trulia. I've been working with Ben Kinney and our Brivity family here for the last 6 years as we've developed the Brivity platform. So enough about that, and let's dive in here today. So this is kind of the map of the Brivity platform, and what we're really going to be focusing on today is kind of the middle of this page right here, the CRM and the things, the nurture components and auto plans and market reports and some of the things we can do once the person, the contact, the prospect, the lead is in the database. Now, over the years, and again, I've been doing this 20 years, most of our team's been doing this a long time. We can absolutely get leads, and Brivity does leads, and we can get you leads. And a lot of you guys have, big databases already, 3,000, 7,000, 15,000 people in your database already. And so today we're going to focus on, they're already in the database. We're not going to talk about how we generate leads, and we have other webinars that do that. We're going to talk about once they're in that database, like what can we do with them to really maximize what's inside of that database. So the first thing I want to start with today, and if you're a Brivity client currently, you're going to want to really be thinking about this and really be getting this dialed in. If you're just getting started, or maybe you're somebody that's been around for a while and you haven't totally nailed this piece yet. We call it our lead flow model, which is essentially when new stuff comes in here, right? How are we going to approach, handle, or attack that new prospect that enters the database today? And again, a lot of you have lots of people already in the database, and we're going to talk about that as well. But how do we set our database up so that we know when somebody comes in, no matter what time of day, no matter what I have going on or what my agents have going on, that lead is being handled, nurtured, and talked to immediately. And so we call this the Brivity lead flow model. And this is kind of how it breaks down on the right-hand side there. No matter where your leads are coming from, they should and could and can be piped into Brivity automatically. So this is a big deal, right? If your leads are coming from realtor.com or Zillow or your old website that you don't want to give up because it generates a couple leads a month, or they're coming from a listings to leads or some third-party application that you use, or you buy leads from HomeLight or wherever your leads, Dave Ramsey, right? Wherever they come from, we can automatically get them flowing into Brivity so that we can have a consistent approach to the prospects in our database, no matter where they originated at. So our support teams can help with that kind of thing. If you're a current Brivity client, you want to get your realtor.com leads flowing in, we do that with email parsing. For Zillow, it's a direct API connection. For some of the other, Dave Ramsey, we use email parsing as well. Sometimes we'll use a thing called Zapier to help you guys get your leads in. But the idea is get everything you have in your world flowing into one place so that you can determine what happens to that lead. Now, if you're an individual agent using Brivity, like high five, Linda, and I don't know if you are or not, but high five if you were, because you'd get the lead, right? This concept of routing wouldn't matter, Linda, because you'd be the only agent. All the leads would come to you. But if you have a team, even if it's you and a partner, right, certain leads you want to go to certain people. And so we have to be able to route those leads to the right person. And a lot of our conversion happens just because we get the lead to the best person who could go and try to convert it. For example, if we had a listing agent on our team, we'd want all of our seller prospects, right? No matter whether they came from Zillow or realtor.com or from our own website, we want those seller prospects to go to our listing agent, right? Maybe I want all my buyer leads from realtor.com over $1 million to go to my ace buyer's agent, right? That gal that's been with me for 15 years. She's awesome. I know if I put a great lead in her hand, she's going to convert it. So we've got to be able to route the leads, and Brivity gives you the ability to determine based on where the source of the lead, the location or the price or that person's intent. Are they a buyer lead or a seller lead, right? Even tags, we can route these leads out to the right person. And that's important, right? As this person, this contact first enters our database. Now, obviously, we're going to notify that agent, hey, new lead came in from Zillow. It's been routed to you. It's sitting there waiting for you to do something with it. But the cool thing about Brivity, and you guys all are going to get this in place if you have Brivity, and if you don't, I hope that the system that you have allows for something like this, is we're going to get an auto plan automagically applied to that contact right as they hit the database. And this is a really big deal. It's been kind of the foundation of Ben Kinney's kind of massively growing business over the years, is this idea that every single lead that hits our database, we are going to start talking to them within the first couple of minutes. Now look, in a perfect world, we'd have an agent sitting at their computer waiting for that lead to come in, right, Kes? And right when that lead came in, we'd pick the phone up and we'd give them a call. But it's not a perfect world. A lot of times you're out showing a buyer, you're at dinner with the family, you're on a phone call with somebody else, and that lead comes in. Well, what happens? Well, what we want to happen is based on where that lead came from, what kind of lead that is, to have some kind of a plan apply to that lead, which starts talking to them automatically. So our auto plans include tasks for you to do certain things, right? Maybe that task is make the first phone call. Maybe it's make the second call or the fifth call, right? There's texts that are going to automatically go out to the lead and emails that are going to automatically go out to this lead. Now, these plans can be triggered or caused to fire based on certain criteria so that we can make sure we get the right plan applying to the right person, right? So those can be done based on source, intent. Are they a buyer? Are they a seller? Status, right? Or maybe I could have a plan fire when I moved a lead from being a new lead to an unqualified lead, or tag. Okay, I might have certain leads that come in with a certain tag, or I could even assign a tag to a lead, which would cause a plan to fire. So when we go out in with like a new place expansion team in Ben's world, when I'm working with a Brivity team, one of the things that we're doing is looking to get these auto plans set up on like the first kind of 5 primary sources of lead flow. So for us, if you're a Brivity client, at some point you're going to have buyer leads coming in from your website. So we have a very specific auto plan for that. And at the end of the call, I'll share with you guys this document where you can go and actually pull in to your Brivity account, if you're a Brivity user, the different plans that we use for each of these different elements. So we've got a plan called the 10 days of pain that we use when a website buyer lead comes in. I'm actually going to explore the 10 days of pain with you guys here in just a minute. Really quickly, by the way. We've got a different plan for open house leads. In our business, we do a lot of open houses. We weren't able to for a while, but we're back to being able to do those in most of our markets now. Quickly is a text to lead service that Brivity offers. And so we've got a very specific plan that's geared towards a lead that comes in because somebody was out in front of our listing and texted in to get information about our listing. And then we've got seller side plans that we get in place. So we have one plan that's going to fire when we have a buyer lead from our website. We've got a different plan that's going to fire when we have a seller lead from our website. And then on every one of our teams, we're always going to figure out, and this is something we're getting these plans in place like on day one or as close to day one as possible, because we want this uniformity of how we approach the leads, no matter where they came from. So we're going to think really hard about, okay, what are our kind of two big major sources? And these kind of 6 plans are going to be in place for all of Ben Kinney's teams. When we're working with the team, we're saying, hey, how do we maximize what we're doing with the inbound lead flow that we have? We have to make sure that we have a uniformed approach where the text messages that are going out, the emails that are going out are all kind of systematic, right? It ensures that no matter when that lead comes in, no matter who gets assigned that lead, if the agent did nothing, that consumer is going to get somewhere between 18 and 21. Most of these plans have about 18 to 21 steps in them that happen over the course of about 14 days in the beginning. We've got subsequent plans that happen over the course of 6 months, and later we go and apply one of those once the first plan has run its course. Let's go through really quick, and let's look at one of these plans. This is a plan if somebody had come to our website. So right away, 3 minutes after that lead registered, we're going to send them out a text, right? Hi, Jimmy, or whatever the heck he used as his name when he registered. I saw you stop by my real estate website. If you were going to buy, where would you want to live, right? It's going to sign it with whoever that lead got routed to. If it got routed to Sally on your team, Bill, then that's text going to get signed by her, right? Second text, are you looking to live in a new home, sell, or maybe purchase a rental property? Now, the way that this plan sets up, if they replied to this first text, the second one won't go out. Right? Whatever they say to this first one, that'll stop the rest of the plan, and we step in and we start speaking with them. If they don't reply, 15 minutes later, we're going to send this. If they don't reply, an hour later, we're going to send this. We call this our guilt text. All of our plans set up with this approach where the very first text is going to kind of address who they are, where they came from, and what we think they were up to, right? Hey, I saw you were on Zillow. Thanks for checking out our property there. Are you guys looking for a property in that area, right? We're going to address that query. The second text is going to be some kind of an ancillary ask, question, or offer, right? Hey, did you guys want to get out and take a look at the inside of that home? Then our third text, and it's still going to be in the first day, it's always going to be guilt. And maybe that's just how we were raised. I don't know. But we want them to think like, hey, this person was, hey, you're Jimmy, right? I hope I don't have the wrong number. Like, I hope I'm not texting the wrong guy. I just sent you 2 texts about what you were doing on the website, on Zillow. This one gets a ton of response. No, yeah, it's me. Sorry, I wasn't even supposed to be on the computer. I'm at work right now. Can you call me later? Right? Over the next 10 days, we're going to sprinkle in texts of this nature. Would you like to see any of the homes you saw? Right? Hey, my company has a mortgage program with 0 lender fees. Right? Hey, if I could show you how owning a home could save or make you an extra $20,000 the first year alone, would that be worth a few minutes over coffee? People normally visit my website for 1 or 2 reasons. They're looking to buy, they're looking to sell. And you're not doing anything, right? Our agents, hopefully by this point, they've made a couple of phone calls, right? They get a task set from that plan that says, hey, go call this lead. There's even a script in there of what they could say when they call that lead. At any point, if this consumer responds, the rest of this will stop. But if they don't, we're just going to keep peppering them with offers, angles, questions. By the way, I'll share this slide deck at the end with anybody that wants this. If you're not currently a Brivity client, you'd like to implement this plan into your own business, whatever system you use, reach out to me and I'll give you the slide deck. If you are a Brivity client, again, at the end, I'm going to give you a link where you can go and download all of these plans that we offer you guys. Did I drop the ball? At the end here, we just start kind of throwing stuff against the wall. There's a text one day, it's the 12th day after they come in. It just says, Jimmy, ? You'd be shocked how many people respond to this. Yeah, no, it's me. Who is this? And you're like, it's the real estate agent. I've been texting you for the last 10 days. What do you mean, who is this? Like, I love texting. You hate responding. Just want you to know I'll continue reaching out until I earn your business. This text gets a lot of LOL responses. Haha, yeah, I've totally been ignoring you for the last 2 weeks. We're just not ready right now, which is fine, right? We can tell them not a big deal. Most people we work with start by not being ready. You know, what's your time frame? When are you guys hoping to be in a new house? Lena, you don't have to have quickly set up to start using the auto texting, no. All right, so these auto plans, and I just ran you really quickly through our 10 days of pain and just the text components. There's a whole set of emails that go along with that say something very similar to what the text messages say. These plans, and I'm going to show you guys here at the end, I'm going to give you some links where you can come and pull plans into your own account. Again, if you're a Brivity client, but you can also share these plans amongst yourself. So we're constantly sharing the plans we build for Ben Kinney's business with our Brivity clients. But you can share plans amongst our Brivity clients. And every day there's somebody in our Brivity Masterminds group who's like, hey, does anybody have a plan for following up with, people that are in a distressed sales situation? And we can easily, just in a couple of clicks, share these plans between each other. And we've got, 4,000 really awesome teams that are using Brivity. So if you need a plan, somebody's probably built one and you can just R&D it, right? Rip it off and duplicate it because they can easily share it with you. All right, so our auto plans, making sure those things are set up on triggers, making sure that that we have coverage on every lead that's coming into the database. So we know that even if we're out at dinner with our spouse, they're still getting communication from us relevant to whatever the heck they were doing right when they come in. Bill, we have like 4,000 teams or accounts on Brivity. I would say it's about 3,500 real estate agents using the Brivity platform specifically. It might even be more than that. Well, Ben Kinney, he has 60 teams. Ben Kinney's operation has about 500 agents that use Brivity, and then we've got another 3,500. I could get an exact number, but it's 4,000 accounts, right? A lot of those are single agents, but there's a lot of teams. We've got 25, 30 person teams. All right, so next up would be nurturing every home buyer in the database with listing alerts. And look, my first foray into real estate 20 years ago, we built a brokerage in Western Washington, right as the MLS and many MLSs across the country started to allow us to put listings on the internet. And one of the very first things we did is built listing alerts. And we've been sending listing alerts to consumers for 19 years. Your MLS allows you to send these alerts out to consumers every day as properties come on the market. But here's why we think it's important that your database be able to send listing alerts that feeds people to your website for a couple of reasons. One, because you want to be able to see what they're looking at and what they're doing. Two, because when you send them something, you don't want those 2 properties you sent them to be a dead end. If one of those properties sparked their interest, and they wanted to go look and see if there was other properties similar to that one out there, you want to be able to come back to your website and really just start digging around. Another thing that we've done recently with our listing alerts, because we've learned something over the years. The people that are going to buy another home, sometimes they live in a home today. And so in every listing alert, we embed in there the ability for them to find out what their house they live in today is worth. We sent tens of millions of listing alerts in our time, never once thinking to ourselves, I bet these people own something, or some of them do. We should ask them if they want to know what it's worth. Well, for the last 2.5 years, we've been doing that, and you get a lot of buyers that start thinking about the next house they want to buy before they ever start considering selling the house they live in. Right? So a lot of these listing alerts that are going out are going to actually get potential sellers in your database to raise their hand. Now, who gets a listing alert? And for us, this is really important, guys. Every single buyer prospect. And the reality is, if somebody's in our database and we're not sure who they are, where they came from, or maybe don't even know how long they've been in there, they're going to get a listing alert. And for us, there's no exceptions here. Literally no exceptions. So sometimes I know something about that person. If they were a lead that just came in from Zillow, let's say, I'm going to look at, well, what property were they looking at on Zillow? Maybe they were looking at a $700,000 property in Seattle. Awesome. They're going to get a listing alert from 600 to 900,000. Go. Not after I speak with them. And we see a lot of teams who they don't put that listing alert in place. They wait to get that lead on the phone for that person to tell them exactly what they want. But let's say that lead came from Zillow. And let's say you called them that first day and they didn't answer. And you thought to yourself, well, I'll wait till I talk to them and then I'll set them up on a listing alert. Here's what's likely going to happen. You're probably not ever going to talk to them, right? But in that time, let's say it's a week, you're going to call them back in a week. What happens during that week? They might go back to Zillow again, right? And if they do go back to Zillow again and they make an inquiry on a different property, they're likely to end up in a different agent's database. So from the moment we get them, we want to try to recondition their behavior to stop using Zillow and start using our website. And so the way we do that is we start firing properties toward their way based on what they were looking at. But let's say I had a lead and I didn't know what they were looking at all. In our world, every single one of our teams has a generic listing alert. So I'll give you an example. My mom is a real estate agent. She sells real estate in Olympia, Washington. Olympia, Washington has another major city here in the state of Washington, Tacoma, that's right next to it. Now, there are 10 or 12 other cities right around Lakewood, Lacey, right, Shelton. They're all right there. But when we do a generic listing alert on somebody, let's say a lead that came to our website, they signed up, but they weren't looking at a particular property. So when we get the lead, we're like, I don't know. They were on our website, but we don't know what they were looking at. They're going to get Olympia, a listing alert for Olympia and Tacoma, $350,000 to $500,000. Go. Let's say a lot of you guys that are on here right now, you've got a bunch of old leads. I saw some people say, I'm a new Brivity client. You probably came from somewhere. And there's a high likelihood, Linda, that you have prospects that you brought with you, right? Old leads, let's say. If you took 100 of your old leads and you set them all up on a listing alert, and you knew nothing about those leads, Linda, you just said, hey, I sell in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I'm going to do a listing alert for Ann Arbor, 400 to 600,000. And what we're looking at there is kind of what's that average price home in your market? And we just bracket, a couple $100,000 around that average price. If you set 100 of those up, Linda, on old leads, I promise you what would happen. The first thing that would happen, by the way, is one person would reply like really ornery and angry. And they'd be like, who are you? Don't you email me? Where'd you even get my email address, right? It'll likely be in all caps with lots of exclamation points. We've all come across this person in our real estate business at some point. And maybe we apologize. Hey, sorry, you had been in our database from a couple of years ago. We're just trying to reach out and re-engage you. We'll stop, right? You trash that lead, you move on. You don't want to work with that person anyway. But that's one of 100. One or two people will say, hey, we're not looking in Ann Arbor. We're looking in Saline, or we're looking in Ypsilanti, right? Somebody else will say, hey, you're sending us listings between 400,000 and 600,000. We're only approved to 350. Could you send us listings under 350? Somebody else will say, stop sending 2-bedroom stuff. I need 3 bedrooms. Now, depending on how old that list is, right? Those 100 old leads we had in our database, somewhere between 15 and 20% of them will just come back to your website in the next 30 days. They won't say anything. They won't ask you to adjust the search. They won't tell you the price is wrong. They'll just see something in their inbox and go, oh, hey, what's this? And they'll click on it. And inside of your database, inside of Brivity specifically, although other platforms do this, right, you'll be able to see that activity. So every single buyer prospect, and we don't wait until we talk to them. When we talk to them, we may refine that search, obviously, but we're not going to wait. We're going to get one on them. And like I said, something's better than nothing. Every single time, we're going to default to, let's just try to get them something. They can tell us if it's wrong. They can even tell us to get lost. We don't care. But we're not going to let that person who says, hey, get lost, stop us from helping those other 15 to 20% of those people that will actually end up coming back and engaging the website. So alerts, every single buyer prospect. We've got another tool that's really important. And look, when we bring a new Ben Kinney team into our world, both listing alerts and market reports, and we'll talk about what market reports are here in a second, we are looking to get to thresholds where 20% of our database is covered by a listing alert and 20% of our database is covered by a market report, and we're trying to do that in the very first week. Now, over the course of the first month, we're trying to figure out how do we get 50% of this database covered by a listing alert, and how do we get 50% of this database covered by a market report? So what's a market report? Well, a market report is something that we can use to engage buyers or sellers that's going to show them in the area that we determine the homes in that area that are currently active, currently pending, or that have sold in the last 30 days, and at what price points did they sell. They include the photos of the homes, they include all the descriptions, all that fun stuff, right, from the MLS feed. And they are designed to keep your database educated about what's selling around them. My wife normally works in an office, and at COVID, she's been working from home for the last year. But so when she used to work in an office, this scenario that I'm about to explain would never happen in my house. Okay, my wife comes in. By the way, if you're my friend on Facebook, you know my wife's a 10. I'm like a solid 6, right? This lady is amazing. I don't know how I got her to marry me, but if she walked in one day, I would not be sitting there with 2 tickets to a speed dating event and be like, hey, honey, well, here, take these tickets, go with your friend Lillian. You guys head down to the Seattle Center. There's going to be this big speed dating thing. You'll meet lots of people. You know, maybe you'll find a really awesome one. Just go, have at it, have fun, enjoy yourself. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. She'd probably find somebody better. Now, what happens? So how does this apply to you? What happens tomorrow when somebody in your database, Bill Miller, drives in to their neighborhood and they see a sold sign on a listing? And they already know what's kind of going on in the real estate market. They know it's hot. They probably even know that the Johnsons down the street had the property listed at $500,000. But when they see that sold sign, Bill Miller, they are going to find out what that house sold for. Some of them won't even get home, you guys. They'll whip this cell phone out because they've got it. They're probably looking at it as they're driving, right? They'll whip that thing out and they'll go somewhere to get the answer to what did my neighbor's house just sell for? It kind of makes me a little fired up that Zillow even exists, right? Because they can go there today. They can go there and see what that neighbor's house sold for. They can go to Redfin. They could go to Google and just Google like what our house is selling for in Ames, Iowa, right? We want them to go to your market report. We want them to go, oh, Bill's been sending me that report. I pull that up. I know it'll be on there because I look at it all the time and it's always showing me what's selling around my house. We've got to put a moat around our clients so they don't go to Zillow. Because I promise you, if they go to Zillow, if they go Googling, if they go to Red, they are going to end up in somebody else's database. You risk sending them on a real estate speed dating event. You're like, go out there, find the answer to the question that I could actually solve for you, but go find it somewhere else. And if you meet somebody, I hope they're awesome. We can't do this. So who gets one of these? All of our past clients that live somewhere. Everybody in our sphere that lives somewhere. Any seller prospects we get in this database. Basically, anybody in my database where I have their physical address and I have an email address so I can send them that report, they're going to get one of these market reports. If you're a current Brivity client, we can build 50 market reports at a time. Automatically, we can go in there, select 50 people. It'll go out. It'll start at a half a mile around their house. It'll look to see if there's enough properties to do a full report. If there's not, it'll go out a little wider and it will just set a radius around their house and just show them everything happening in their neighborhood. There's another strategy for market reports. So these first 4 are kind of the seller side, right? Let's keep the sellers educated about what's selling around their house, our seller prospects, our sphere, our past clients. By the way, we set these up to go out every 2 weeks, which means our sphere and our past clients hear from us 26 times a year with information that they actually care about. Not change of clocks, not here's a cool summer salad recipe, right? It's here's what's selling around your house and here's how much it's selling for. The clients of Brivity users don't have to go to Zillow anymore. These market reports get opened at a ridiculous clip. It's 3 times what the average open rates are on just a regular email in real estate. They get a lot of engagement. Now, we also do these on buyers. So I don't know where that buyer lives, but a lot of times I know where they're looking. So let's go back. Let's say we had that Zillow lead that came in and they were looking at a a $500,000 property in Seattle. So we're going to give them a listing alert from 400 to 600,000. We're also going to give them a market report for the city of Seattle between 400 and 600,000. We basically set up a market report to mirror or match the listing alert. So think about it. The listing alert every day is like, hey, here's a new property that just hit the market. Hey, here's another new property that just hit the market. And then once a week on our buyer leads, we send them this market report that says, hey, you know all those properties we've been sending you for the last week? Here's what's happening with them currently, right? And they can pull up a map and they can see, well, these 4 are still active. Oh, those 2 are still pending. In fact, like think about this. Let's say we're sending those listing alerts out. Wife gets the email, right, on a Thursday, and she's like, hey, honey, look at this house. I love this one. We should reach out to Bill Miller and have him show us this house. And the husband's like, honey, we have stuff going on Saturday. We got the kids' soccer game. We've got that birthday party on Sunday. Like, we don't really have time this weekend to go see a house. And she's like, but I really love it. And he's like, well, let's see. Maybe we can set up something for next week. Then her market report comes out on Monday, and she's like, hey, get over here, you moron. Hey, look at this. This house is pending. That one I liked on Thursday, it's already pending. And you guys know in your markets right now, like that is happening. She's going to say, hey, next time I see one, we're calling Bill Miller. Like we're not waiting through a weekend. We can't. It also just educates those buyers about what's happening in that market. It'll show them, look, if you really want to get a house, you can't make offers under list price, not in this market. It educates our buyers about what's happening in that area that one day they would like to move into or buy in. These are just massively powerful. So when we're setting these up, one of the things that it's really common for me to see is where an agent goes in and they go, okay, I'm setting this up with my past client. And look, I know my past, I sold them the house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's 2,800 square feet. So I'm just going to show them other properties that are 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, between 2,500 and 3,000 square feet. Go send. But what happens in that scenario? Let's say they drive home, Bill, like we were talking about earlier, and they drive into the neighborhood, and the house they see is a 3-bedroom, 2 bath. But they don't know that. They don't know the inside of that house has only 2 baths instead of 2.5 like theirs. So they go, oh, it's sold. All right, let me pull Bill's market report up, and they pull it up, and because you've made it so specific to their house, that neighbor house, it's just a little bit different than theirs. It doesn't show up on that report. So now they got to go to Zillow. They got to go to Redfin. They got to go to Google. So we make our reports as generic as possible. We basically don't put any qualifiers on them. No bedrooms, bathrooms, price, none of that stuff. We just are going to show them everything happening around their house. I'll give you a personal example of why this is important. My wife and I bought a 2,900 square foot 3-story townhome like 3 years ago. The house today is worth a lot more money. Right? We live here in Seattle. And so down the street from me, there's a bunch of a little bit smaller. So mine's like a 3-3. They're 3-2s, and they're only like 1,700 square feet. So if somebody had set me up, they probably would have set me up, 3, if specifically there was 3, 2,500 to 3,000 square feet. But I'm really interested in what those 1,700 square foot places down the road from me are selling for, because I know this now. The first one that sold for a little bit more than my wife and I bought our place for 3 years ago, and it's 1,200 square feet smaller. So I'm high-fiving my wife, right? I didn't have to go to Zillow. I get my market report from my mom, and she's a Brivity user. So I'm pulling that thing up when it comes to me every week, and I'm looking to see what's going on around my neighborhood. And I want to see that house. It's not like mine. My mom is going to sell my house. She's not going to comp it against that, 1,200 square foot smaller house, but that helps me. Right? I'm interested in that. So we make them as generic as possible. We really just use a radius. Now you can do these based on a city, a zip code. You can go on a map and say, I just want to show them the properties in this area of the map. You can draw it out, or you can just do a radius around their house. Okay, so we've got listing alerts in place. We've got market reports in place. Now what do we do? If you're a Brivity user, or look, if you have a CRM that allows you to kind of gauge that people are opening your listing alerts and clicking through on properties, or opening the market reports up and curious about what's selling around their house. Every single day you check the results. So inside of Brivity, that means you would go to the lead index, you'd find the column for last visit, and you just click on that column, and that's going to float to the top of your Brivity CRM, everybody that's been on your website. I promise you, if you can figure out how to get 20% of your database on a listing alert, every single day there will be somebody showing up, giving you an opportunity in your database to go reach out and connect with that person. It will be every single day. If you get 50% of your database set up, some of our teams can't even keep up with the amount of traffic that's there. They get so busy, they can't even call everybody that just came to the website today. It's a good problem to have. Yeah, Nadia, the market report, the cool thing about these market reports, let's say they send out once a week. The consumer can pull them up anytime they want, and it's a fresh, up-to-date look at what's selling right around their house. So the prices are in there. Okay, they can see that, listed at 500, it's sold at 525. So we're going to go back every day inside of Brivity, and we're going to think to ourselves, because here's how we think about our database. Your database is this thing that you're constantly trying to put pressure on it, right? Constantly trying to put pressure on it to get people to bubble up who might be the right person to call today and talk to. And so once we get listing alerts and market reports in place, putting this pressure on the database, we go in every day to see who's bubbling up. Auto plans are a great way to put pressure on the database, right? Lead comes in, we start applying pressure, we're asking questions, right? Trying to get a response out of them, trying to get them to bubble up. Sometimes they bubble up and say, hey, we're just looking. And we say, that's awesome. We'll set you up on a listing alert. We'll follow up in a month, right? Maybe we see them come back and bubble up again in the next month, and we go call them, in advance of a month. Here's one of the reasons why these two things are really important. Getting people to the site, even once. We've got a product, a program at Brivity called Brivity Connect. And it's got 3 components to it. One of the components is we go out and we help you generate really affordable leads. Okay. The next 2 components, though, are things that can really supercharge a database. The first one is retargeting. And what retargeting is it says, look, if somebody's been on your website in the past and they've looked at even one property, we can then start to follow them around and show them similar properties. Now, we use Facebook's network to do this. So the next time they go to Facebook or Instagram or any of the hundreds of different apps that actually use Facebook's ad engine, we can put properties in front of those people similar to the ones they looked at. So let's think about that person that was on Zillow. If they'd been on Zillow, they came into our database, we didn't get them on a listing alert, right? Well, like we said earlier, the next time they think real estate, they're going to go back to Zillow. But what if the lead came from Zillow? We started sending them a listing alert right away based on that property they looked at in Zillow. And at some point they go, oh, look at that. And they hit the website, maybe even just once. Well, now we get this little cookie on their browser, right? And we can start to just follow them around. So we know who they are. We pipe that up to Facebook. We go, hey, Facebook, here's this person. They were on our website. They were looking at a $500,000 property in Seattle. Can you start showing them ads for $500,000 properties around Seattle? And we just start following that person around. Now, let's say 2 weeks later, they come back and they start looking in Bellevue. And now they're looking at $500,000 properties over in Bellevue. And that's the last couple they've looked at. Fine. The next time they go into Facebook, we're going to be like, hey, oops, they're not looking in Seattle anymore. Let's show them Bellevue properties. And we just keep putting these properties in front of them. We keep putting your face in front of them. We keep putting the properties in front of them. We keep trying to drive them back into this database so that you see them as a visitor back on this website. This has been one of the teams that engage Brivity Connect over the course of the first about 60 days are doubling the amount of daily traffic they're getting to their website. And you guys all know this happens, right? We know this because when we go into Facebook, we see ads from the last website we were on. Same deal here, right? We're going to show your real estate consumers ads from the last website they were on, yours. Those ads being for homes. This is an upgrade feature, Bill. The remarketing then, what we'll do is we'll take your entire database. We'll kind of suck it up into our ad engine, and then we'll start targeting these people all across the internet, no matter where they go. So we do this on Google's display network. So if they're on CNN, they can see your face, Bill Miller, and your marketing message. And our team works with you to figure out what is that marketing message that we're going to follow this person around the internet with. They're going to see on the Wall Street Journal. If you sold real estate here in Bellingham, they'd see on the Seattle Times and the Bellingham Herald. Fox News, MSNBC, we don't care which way they lean politically. We're going to put you everywhere. Like it's so invasive in a good way that like when they play in Candy Crush at night, Bill Miller, they're going to be like their little 15-second ad that pops up in between Candy Crush games. If anybody plays Candy Crush, you'll be there. Like we will just inundate their online experience with your messaging. So if you think about that lead that came in, they're now getting a listing alert. They're also getting a market report. They're seeing properties from you on Facebook. When they go to Insta or when they go to CNN, there you are. They're going to start thinking after a little while, holy cow, like Nadia must spend $1 million on marketing. This lady's on the Wall Street Journal. Are you kidding me? But the reality is you're just on the Wall Street Journal for them. It's all about the audience. So we can do this with any website visitors that we can get to your site. We can retarget them with particular properties. Anybody in the database, we can re-engage with this sort of remarketing campaigns. Okay, these are massively effective. They do a lot of things. One of the things they do is just they drive behavior back to your site and they condition people that your website is the place to go. But they also make the phone calls you have to make into your database a little bit easier because these people will have seen you. And sometimes they'll say stuff like, gosh, I totally recognize your name. I don't know why. And you're like, I know why, because you've been seeing it everywhere and it's just kind of sitting in your brain now. So the last little thing I want to talk about here. So we have a dialer inside of Brivity, and it's a highly effective way for you guys to make a high number of contacts, especially when those contacts are like the same type of person. For example, you're going to go sit down today and call a bunch of your past clients, right? We all know that we should be doing this, but we don't do it as often as we'd like, right? We're going to sit down today and call a bunch of people in our sphere and give them our planning the year script. Or do you have any real estate related plans for the year? We sat down with, so Ben Kinney is the owner of Brivity, and he's got about 50 some odd 60 teams across the United States. And he's got a team here in Bellingham. We sat down with 3 agents on that team over the course of a week. And in Ben's business, his agents are asked to make 50 dials a day into the database, right? Sometimes it's Sphere or past clients, or we'll watch or nurture leads, or sometimes we're calling recent website visitors and recent market report viewers. So we sat down with them for a week and we said, hey, we're gonna time you. Not every single call they make, but we were doing these 1-hour blocks, right? Where they were going to just call for an hour, and we timed how long did it take from when they ended a phone call on their own phone. They'd put it down, they'd go to the next lead, and then they'd dial in the phone number for that next lead, and they'd hit send. How long was that transition process between phone calls? And what we found is it averaged 28 seconds. Over the course of a week, 3 different agents, a bunch of different time frames, us having them call, they were averaging 28 seconds per transition. The math's a little bit easier on 30 seconds, so I'll just do it as if it was 30 seconds. They're making 50 calls a day. That 30-second transition between calls, how much time does that? That equals 25 minutes each day. In a week, that's like 2 hours of time. That's a lot of time that our guys and gals are taking just to move from one phone call to the next. 30 seconds at a time, that's nothing, right? You're just like, 30 seconds, no big deal. But when you made a bunch of calls in the database that week, you might have actually just eaten up 2 hours just by making phone calls. So this dialer makes you incredibly more efficient at getting a high volume of calls into your business. And Ben talks, and Ben has one of the most prolific kind of sales operations in the entire United States, right? Their teams collectively sold over 6,000 homes last year. We have 3 real estate success principles. We say the right thing. Our teams practice scripts and dialogues every morning. If you're a Brivity client, you can get your hands on Ben's scripts. The second thing is we say it to the right people. For example, the people that are coming back to our website or that are hitting our market reports. And then we say it enough times. That enough times, in many cases, just as a function of the effort you put in. How many calls did you get into your database today? And having something like a dialer where you find the people in the database you want to call, you select 50 at a time, You hit a little start button, it calls you, you put your headphones in, you put your hands free so you can start recording and typing some of the conversations you have, and it calls the first person. When you're done, it moves to the second person. When you're done, it moves to the third person. You just stay in one call session on your phone. Denver, email me, bob@benkinney.com, and I'll get you those scripts, bud. All right, if you're not a Brivity client, you can text platform to 59559 if you're curious about some of the other stuff Brivity has. And there's a lot. There's a lot. We've got all kinds of front-end lead gen type websites, and we have an app now, and the CRM, and these auto plans and listing alerts and market reports, and there's transaction management. There's a Brivity design center where you can easily create designs. We have a thing called Brivity Marketer where you can run your own Facebook ads or send direct mail campaigns. If you're a current Brivity client, which a bunch of you are, and you've never gotten your hands on the Ben Kinney listing presentation, I'll leave a link to that listing presentation in our Facebook mastermind group today. If you're not a Brivity client and you would like Ben's listing presentation, if you do a demo with one of our folks, they'll give you that listing presentation on the way out the door. Just tell them, hey, Bob said I could get Ben's listing presentation, and we'll make sure you get your hands on that. It's an editable document where you guys can go in and R&D it, rip it off and duplicate it, swap your logos out. Super easy. Now, for Brivity clients, it's really powerful because Ben's listing presentation works in many of the different elements of Brivity that helps you be a more efficient choice to sell their house. If you're not a Brivity client, we'll still give you the presentation so you can see what we do, but you may not have access to all of the tools that we talk about inside of that listing presentation. All right, let's go back. There's been some questions as we've been going through here. Yes, Denver, you email me to get the scripts. The Brivity Connect with the retargeting and the remarketing is an additional fee because we basically just take your budget and go out and spend it on remarketing and retargeting campaigns for you. As Nadia mentioned, yeah, it's sending them out they're getting all the information about the solds. You don't have to have the Quickly set up to use the auto texting, Lena. So you guys get Quickly set up, Lena, at some point, but it's not a requirement that you have Quickly up and functioning for you guys to start using the auto plans. And I told you that I would give you this library. So let me Brivity auto plan library. Let's go there really quick. We'll just Google it, and there it is right here, the Brivity auto plan library. So inside of this auto plan library, here's our 10 days of paying. Here's when we have Quickly leads that come in. Here's the plan we use. When we've got home value leads, like home valuation requests or seller style leads that come in, we're using this plan. Here's our open house plan. You see all these different plans that we have in here. Here's the one we use on old buyer leads, where it's like this 6-month long plan that we can just slap on old buyer leads with texts and emails to try to re-engage those people. So I'll share this link with you guys. Here's what you do to actually pull these in if you're a Brivity client. You would come in here and say, all right, you just click on this, and what it'll do, you have to be the account owner. So if you're the account owner of your Brivity account, you can come to this page, click on that, and it'll pull that plan right into your account. Now, you might want to go in and make some edits and tweak some of the wording, and because you might not offer everything that the Ben Kinney's team offers, right? Yeah, if you're a Brivity client, you have the dialer. I'll show you really quick. Let's just see if it's yeah, here we go. I have no idea whose account I'm in here, but you guys can still see this, right, James? So here's how that dialer works if you're a Brivity client right now. First off, you'd probably want to find like a certain set of people, right? We say, hey, let's find all of our past clients. So we come in here and we're going to call, maybe today we're going to call our past clients, right? So I come into the dialer, I load up who I want to call, right? I come in here and I say, all right, let me select 50 on the page, and I'm just going to come in here and hit call, this little call button. Now, when I hit start, it's going to call me. I'm going to put my headphones in, and it's going to pull. It's going to call the first person, call Melissa. When I get done, I can type some notes in, and I just hit next call. It's going to go down and call Faye. Same thing, notes, next call, it's going to call Michael. And I can just move through this high volume of calls, calling 50 people in a session at a time. Now, in that particular thing, it looked like there was one person that didn't have a phone number, so it was only going to call 49 of those 50. That's how you do those, Robert. If you start an automated dialer, are there stricter rules for making calls? No, no. Same rules would apply. I think if you're just calling one person versus, calling, this is a single line dialer. It's a little bit, it's not a triple line dialer like, a Mojo or something. It's not trying to call 3 people and just connect you to the one that answers. It's just calling each one of these people in order. Yeah, the robocalls, Bill's saying, yeah, that's, when you start to get into like automated messages and things like that, there's definitely another level of kind of be careful, Julie. But, when you're actually going to be a person picking up, it's just like you were making a phone call from your phone. All right. I don't see any more questions piping in here. You guys, hopefully a few of you are curious about Brivity and you texted platform to 59559. The rest of you guys, you got that auto plan. Oh, here, let me give you that auto plan library again for everybody. I think I only shared it with James. There you go. There's the link for that auto plan library. You could just Google Brivity auto plan library and you'll find it very easily. Just looking here really quick. I'll show you because I was talking about it and I'm not at the end of my hour. And if you're a Brivity client, let me just show you really quick, like what you would do to come in here and figure out who's been on your website recently. And this is kind of I'm going to take you into Ben's team's real Bellingham CRM here. And you guys can kind of see, look, they got a huge database. They're running re-engaged targeting, retargeting, remarketing campaigns. They have thousands of listing alerts set up. Like, let's see, how many leads do they have? 25,000. And they've got, I'll show you guys some behind the scenes here on Ben's hub in Bellingham. They've got 22,000 listing alerts set up on 25,000 contacts. They've got 12,000 market reports going out of here. It shouldn't be a surprise when you see that volume of pressure being applied to the database, that every single day, and look, you might have, a third of the size of the database or an eighth of it, maybe you only have 3,000 people in your database. But when we come in here, Bill, that's just a little behind the scenes thing for us to be able to quickly analyze what you guys are up to. The way I'd get those same numbers, Bill, is I'd come in here and be like, hey, show me all my leads. How many have an alert? That's all you kind of saw me doing a really quick look at this filter right here, which is how many of those leads have an alert, right? So they've got some that are probably inactive that have an alert as well. We don't see those in this index by default. Here's what I want to show you. We talked about the step in the process that was like, okay, now every day go check your results and do something about that pressure being applied and those people bubbling up, right? You just come right in here to the index and you click last visit, just like this. And when you do that, what's going to happen is going to reset this index up and it's going to show us the people that were most recently on the website. And I'm in this database all the time, so I'm pretty confident in saying there's definitely going to have been somebody on their website in the last, like, let's say hour. So we come in here like Lindsay and Michael, Nick, all these people have been here recently. When? Oh, a minute ago, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 12 minutes. In the last 2 hours, they've had 50 people on their website. Some combination of either they've got a listing alert and they all have a listing alert, but some of these people might actually be getting driven back here by re-engaged campaigns from Facebook, Instagram, Facebook's network. When I come into this dashboard here, it's going to load up the activity here where you can see, like 10 minutes ago, Elizabeth Lau was driven back to look at this property, this $1.5 million property in Blaine, by a retargeting ad from Facebook, right? This lady asked the question. Here's Kurt being driven back, Janine, Josiah, Teresa, all these people in the last couple of hours were driven back from a re-engaged campaign out on Facebook. Some of the rest of these people are just simply being driven back here because they got a listing alert. Look at the amount of engagement, the number of views. Like if Anthony was going to call Danny Perry right now, he might call him and talk to him about this property right here that this guy looked at a couple of times, or maybe this one over here that he looked at a couple of times on 2 different days, right? A lot of really good data in here for Anthony to be able to make a smart call to Danny. And he just made a call 5 days ago, and he's got a reminder of the next time he wants to follow up with Danny, right? But here's a lead we should call. We haven't talked to this one in 4 months, and man, they got tons of activity on the website. So this team, every day that they come into work, they've got contacts that are bubbling up to the surface in their database that they can get after. They can reach out and call. And sometimes they're right on top of these, and sometimes it's been a little while, and it's time for us to give Charlie another call. All right, you guys have an awesome Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. Go out, kick some butt. Let us know if we can help in any way. Bill Miller, I appreciate you jumping on here, sir. Angela, Alejandro, Charles, Denver. Thanks, Denver. I'm assuming I have an email from you. Anybody else that needs something, I'm bob@benkinney.com. Feel free to reach out. I'll give you the slides. I'll give you Ben's scripts. High five. Have an awesome week. We'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.